Hi guys. Okay, so I got a request on how I shoot a Glock or a pistol shooting, and I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of it, and I'm going to give you guys an in-depth, detailed video on how I shoot. And not that I'm the greatest shooter in the world, but it's things that I was taught in the Navy and in the military, and I think it'll help your marksmanship also. So, alright, before we get started, first things first, you have to know that I'm using safety here. So, right straight through, you can see right through my weapon. There is no round in the chamber. This weapon is clear and safe. I just verified it by dry firing. Alright, there is no round in this magazine. Period. End of story. Alright, you need to know that so that you have an understanding. Alright, so let's go over the first few things. Stay tuned. Okay guys, so the first thing that you're going to need to know is how to index your magazine. Okay, so basically, let's say we're firing at the range. We fired our last round. Slide lock's open. What do you do? Okay, first thing you do, some people do it with their weak side hand. In other words, the hand that is not operating the trigger, or they use their strong side. Either way, and what you're going to do is you're going to bring that thumb to that magazine release. You're going to depress it, and you're going to take the magazine out. Now, if you're in a combat situation, or you need to be firing a whole lot quickly, you're not going to be taking it out with your hand. What you're going to do instead is you're going to hit that magazine release, and then you're going to grab the next magazine, you're going to slam it in, you're going to slingshot it back. I'll go into that in a minute. And you're going to start firing. So, first thing you have to understand is in a combat situation, the first thing that you're going to do when you drop the magazine is you're going to hit the magazine release, and you're just going to let the magazine fall. Now, since we're practicing and if we're at the range, obviously we don't want our magazines falling on the ground because then we have to pick them up. So, if we're in a situation where we're being shot at, we don't care about the magazine. Even if we lost the magazine, it's useless anyway because it's empty. Okay? We do not have time in a combat situation to reload a magazine. All we have time for is to slam another magazine in and continue firing. Okay? So this brings me up to indexing. What I mean by indexing is I'm using my index finger right along the front side of my magazine. Now with a Glock, you'll see that the back edge is flat. That tells me where I should put my thumb. My index finger is going to be on the front, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring my index finger straight to my hand. Okay? I'm just going to bring it up into my hand, basically inserting it right into the mag well here. Okay? Just like this. And then as soon as I've got it inserted, I'm going to let go with my thumb, and I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to smack with the bottom of my hand. Okay? Now, in a Glock magazine and with a Glock weapon, sometimes you'll have this happen with live rounds in your magazine. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this with you. At no time is my trigger finger going to go inside the trigger finger and anywhere near the trigger. Well, watch this. When I index this magazine, boom, that second tap is what made that slide go forward. I do not know if other weapons do this. If they do, that's great. But with the Glock, with a Glock magazine, now you cannot do this with an aftermarket magazine, but with a Glock magazine, I have had great luck with this. So that's an added thing. So that second hit then is what makes this slide go forward. So now I don't have to worry about hitting the slide release, and I do not have to worry about slingshotting it. Okay? That's an important thing to know. Okay? once again, cleared and safe. Alright, so that's something else that you can do. Alright, so let's get down to the nitty gritty here. I've got our magazine in, I'm ready to go. Okay, so before you even get ready to put your trigger finger, also, never put your trigger finger here until you are absolutely ready to fire. Okay? Always maintain a straight trigger finger. Alright, now the next thing. We're looking at grip here. Now notice, for me a Glock 19 is similar to a subcompact for other people, but because my hands are so large, for me a compact is a subcompact. Okay? So, understand that. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fleshy part of my palm, my weak hand, and I'm just going to fit it like a puzzle piece here. I'm going to wrap my fingers around here, and then what I'm going to do with my thumbs is I'm going to either bring them along sideways, or I can go ahead and cross over, okay, with my weak hand on top of my strong, okay. Either way I want to do that. I like to bring them this way. Some people like to do it this way. That's fine, so long as you don't have anything around the back end of this slide, because this slide is going to come back. If your hand's in the way of that, it's going to get bit. That's called slide butt. You don't want that. It hurts. Okay? So, I like to shoot this way. Some people like to shoot this way. At this point, it really makes no never mind. Okay? This is how you're going to cause a strong grip on your weapon. That gets important with accuracy here in a minute. Okay? Alright, so now we've got a strong grip on our weapon. Alright? Now there are quite a few different stances that you can use. Basically, I'll go over the main three right here. Okay. If I have my feet parallel, this is a Weaver stance. Okay? This is a good distributed stance. You want to have a little bit of bend in your knees, and it's nice and comfortable for most beginning shooters. Okay? I personally step forward with my left foot just a little bit, and I bring, once again, I've got my knees bent. I like having my left forward because that gives me the ability to move better in my mind. Okay? There are some people that also like to have their strong side or their right foot forward. Okay? It's all personal preference, but the thing is that the main idea is that even if you have one foot forward of the other, you still are shoulder width distance. Okay? Even though you may not be squared up, you're still shoulder width distance. Okay? You are not lunging. Okay? You are not stepping back. You are keeping your weight distributed and being comfortable. Okay? So, shoulder width apart. Alright. So the next thing. When you point your weapon, alright, what you have to do is you do not do this. You do not bend your arms. You point it out. You go ahead and point your weapon out. Okay? This is what you do. Alright? Now, you do not bring your head to your gun. You bring your gun to your head. Okay? Do not bring your eye to the sight. You bring the sight to your eye. Alright? Now then, since we're talking about sight and eyes, now's the time when you need to actually do an exercise. It's a subconscious thing. There is no right, there is no wrong. This is only right or wrong for you. Okay? What I want you to do is I want you to make a diamond shape between your hands here, and I want you to bring that diamond shape to your eye, and I want you to look through it using one eye. So for me, this tells me that I am left eye dominant. If you are right eye dominant, you would go here to your right eye. the eye that your body automatically chooses, that is your dominant eye. Okay? This is the eye that you will get the best sight picture with. Okay? For me, it's my left eye. I've been shooting for a long time using my right eye, so I'm trying to unlearn what I've learned. That's a problem for me. Okay? But I didn't know that at the time, so I know that now, so I'm trying to correct it. Anyway, much easier to do something the right way for you first, then do things better. Okay? Something else. Shooting is all about being comfortable. If you are not comfortable, you will not shoot well. I don't care what you're shooting. I don't care when you're shooting. I don't care how you're shooting. If you are not comfortable, you will not shoot well. Okay? I myself, I'm comfortable with the 45 ACP. Some people, that's too heavy of a load for them. They need a 9mm. They need a 38 special. They need a 380. They may even need a 22, depending. Okay? This is fine. You have to find what you're comfortable with. Okay? Most people, in fact, most of the time, I would recommend a 9mm to just about anyone that's starting shooting. Period. If you've never shot a gun before, shoot a 9mm. The reason is that if it's too light for you, you can always go up. If it's too much for you, you can go down a little bit. Okay? But 9mm is about the middle range of where you want to be. Okay? So, next thing. Alright, so now we're bringing it up to the dominant eye. Alright? Now here's the trick. You keep your non-sighting eye, you keep it open. The reason why you keep your non-sighting eye open. If you are in a position or in a situation where you actually need to use this, okay, and you brought it up to your dominant eye, if you close your non-dominant eye, you will not be able to see anything that's on this side. That's a problem, okay? You want to be able to see what's on this side. So you learn to shoot with both eyes open, alright? So you bring it up to your eye, go ahead and point it out, okay? You do not necessarily have to lock your elbows, because if you lock your elbows, then your elbows have a hard time dealing with recoil, okay? But at the same time, okay, when they say lock your elbows, they mean extend them. They do not mean lock them, okay? They mean extend them. If you lock them, it will decrease your accuracy. We'll get into that in a little bit when we start getting into the finer points, okay? But you extend them fully. You do not lock them, okay? Because when I lock my elbows, I have a tendency to do this, okay? If I'm doing this, I'm going to shoot low, alright? So I'm going to extend them, alright? Not lock, okay? I'm going to extend, and I'm going to let my muscles absorb as much of the recoil as I can, okay? Now, when that happens, I'll be okay. Alright. Chambering around. Now, some people have difficulty chambering around. I'm going to take this magazine because right? Some people have difficulty chambering around. And in fact, especially with older women and things like that, sometimes, or even with a Glock 21, sometimes you have a difficulty chambering that for a 45 round. Here's how I do it. I'm wanting to take the heel of my palm, put it right up against that slide, and I'm wanting to wrap these 4 fingers onto the other side, and I'm going to pinch it here. Alright, so now I've got it pinched here at the center of my chest. I'm going to push down with my right hand, or my strong hand, and then I'm going to go ahead and slap my shoulder. Okay? So once again, palm of the heel, right onto the slide, wrapping around, pushing down with the right hand and slapping the shoulder. Okay? That's what you're going to do. It will make it a lot easier for you to chamber that first round. Okay? That's another thing. Alright, so that's our main standing and shooting tips that we're going to be working with at that point. Okay? I could go into one-handed assisted or unassisted, but at this point we're going to work on our accuracy tips. So, alright. Okay guys, so here's our time for our accuracy tips. Alright. First thing that you're going to want to know is you're going to want to know your sight alignment. Okay? How your sights, it's called your sight picture. Okay? How your sights should look when you're sighting into your target. Okay? This is good sight alignment. Okay? Now if you see the top edge or the top blade of my front sight is parallel and in line with the top edge of my rear sight. Okay? On the Glock sight, it's going to look like this. Okay? This white triangle or white box here is what the back of your sights look like. Okay? And there is that white dot. Alright? You want it to look like this. Okay? This is good. This is going to be level, and this is going to fly true, depending on how you deal with your trigger. We'll get into that. This is bad. Okay? This is going to be high. Notice how the top of the front blade sight is way above here. This is bad. You are going to, basically what you're doing is you're angling your muzzle up, not flat, up. That's bad. Okay? Alright, here's another bad one. Bad, low. See where the blade sight is? See where it's not? That's bad. Bad, low. Okay. And this is the worst one of all. Bad because I don't even see the front sight. I don't know where the heck this round is going to go. I have no idea. It could be going anywhere. We don't know. Okay? There we go. Now then, now we've went into all that. That's what your sight picture should look like. Okay. So now then, once again, weapons clear and safe. Let's get you lined up. Sure. Alright, cool. Alright. Weapons clear and safe. Alright. So, what was I talking about? Trigger. Okay. Trigger handling is one of those tricky things. Most of the time, if you are having problems with your accuracy, I would say about 80% of the problem is how you're pulling the trigger, or shall I say, how you're pressing the trigger, and that is a huge deal. Alright, look. When I pull the trigger, I do not have this front joint. See that front joint that's moving? Yeah, I don't have that. I don't want that, okay? I want my trigger finger to pull like this. Alright? I do not want that joint to move, ideally. I do not want that. Okay? I want this to move. Not this. Okay? If that joint moves, what's going to happen is, see how, okay? If I move that front joint, see what's happening to my barrel? See where I'm pulling it off sight as I'm pulling it? Okay? Now, if I lock that joint, let me show you again. Alright. try to get you straightened out in the camera. Okay, here we go. If I lock this joint, barrel didn't move. If I don't lock that joint, see where the barrel moved? I'm pulling it off. If I lock it, it does that. If I don't lock it, it does that. Okay? Now, even with both hands, if I don't lock that joint, it still pulls it off just a hair. And because of that hair, that's going to cause you to be a little bit off. Now, if you lock that joint, you're fine. Okay? That's part of the problem. The other problem is that a lot of the time, people will get a concealed carry weapon or like a Glock 26, Glock 27, and the gun itself will be actually too small for them. Okay? Well, I mean by too small, I mean it's too small for their darn hand. And that causes them to force, they have to lock it down. Because if they don't lock it down when they're getting ready to fire, that thing is going to have a whole bunch of play in that hand. You do not want that. You want to grip this weapon tightly. You want to lock it in as much as possible. Lock that front joint. You do not want that joint to move. All you need to do that with the trigger finger, right, is your second joint. That's all you need to pull that trigger. That's all you need. You do not need this. You do not want to do this. You want this. Okay? See the difference? Alright. Alright. Enough said about that. Okay, so next thing that we're going to go into is kneeling shooting. Okay? So here we go. Alright guys, so when I'm doing a kneeling shooting, where I'm shooting while I'm kneeling, I like to have my strong side up, and I like to kneel down with my left. Okay? That's my weak side. Okay? Now, that's going to cause my body to tilt just a little bit towards my weak side. That's okay. I want that. Alright? Because that will only help me bring it up from my sight picture from my left eye. Okay? So, what I'll do is I'll do one of those. Okay? Now notice how I've got my left knee, it's pointed straight down and it's right under my center of gravity. All my body weight is on my left knee. Okay? The reason why I have this is because I can move my body left and right, circular, and I do not have to move my knee off the ground. Okay? If I need to redirect, I can do that here. Okay? Or I can redirect here. Alright? All while still maintaining my balance. This is important. Okay? So, here we go. So, I'm here. I have my proper sight picture. Okay? And no matter where I want to point my weapon, I can still maintain that proper sight picture. And I do not have to worry because my body mechanics, as far as this triangle, is going to keep me where I need to be. Okay? That's how I deal with kneeling. Okay? Outside of that, it's the exact same thing as standing. Be comfortable with it. Always be comfortable. Okay? If you can't be comfortable where you're shooting, your shot is going to be crap. Okay? That's the way it is. Alright. Enough said about that. Alright, so let's go into barricade type shooting. Okay, so barricade type shooting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kneel if I can. and I'm going to put my arms right on top of that barricade. Okay? Now in this, I'm using the barricade to steady my arms for me. Okay? I am not trying to steady them myself. I'm maintaining the same elbows extended fully. I'm maintaining the same sight picture. I'm just letting my arms rest right on that barricade. Okay? Now, when I'm ready to fire, I just do what I gotta do. Okay. Alright. Oh, something else I wanted to mention about the trigger too. When you have your trigger finger on the trigger, you see that little ball of flesh there that you would sometimes, if you're playing a flute or whatever, you would smoosh that down into that hole. Okay, that's what you're gonna, that very middle of this joint. Okay, so if we look at this joint, here's my joint, there's the ball of flesh that I'm talking about. Okay, that ball of flesh is going to have equal purchase on either side of that trigger. Okay, and that way when I pull, I have equal purchase on either side. Okay, alright, that's important because that's another little trick to keeping your accuracy up. Okay, so anyway, that's pretty much the basics on it. If there's any more questions, I mean, I'm totally here to help. But that pretty much should do it for you. The biggest thing is practice, and do that. Oh, something else that I do want to add too, before we leave, is something else that is an inherent ability of the Glock, and actually pretty much ever since the advent of the Glock, most manufacturers of firearms have been doing this, and it's called the point and shoot ability. Okay, especially with pistols, this is important. Okay, you have to understand that with a pistol, you're designed to be shooting by military standards, U.S. military anyway. A pistol is only designed to be accurate up to 50 yards. And in fact, a pistol is designed for engagements of anywhere from 25 to 35 yards. Okay? Pretty much the military thinks pretty much from 0 to 35 yards is where you're going to be wanting to use your pistol. Okay? So that means that there will be a time when you may need to be able to fire that weapon, and you may not have time to sight in on your opponent. That's where point and shoot ability comes in. Basically what you're wanting to do is, you remember how I taught you to maintain a straight trigger finger? The reason for this is not only does it keep your finger out of the darn trigger unless you're ready to fire, but it also trains your mind to, when I'm getting ready to fire at somebody, I'm just pointing my finger at them. Okay? Pointing a pistol and this point at this time and in this way should be no different than pointing your finger at them. Okay? That's all you're doing. All you're doing is you're just pointing your finger at them. Okay? Now, is it the same as getting into your stance and being ready to pop off rounds? No, it's not. Is it going to be nearly as accurate? No, it's not. But in that type of a situation where you need to throw a heck of a lot of rounds into your target to stop your target, because your target is getting ready to throw a heck of amount of rounds into you, this is how you use it. You, boom, okay? You literally just point and shoot, okay? Glocks are great for this ability. They really are. Their point and shoot ability is great, Okay. The spring-fed XDMs and XDs, they're great for that too. Like I said, a lot of pistol manufacturers and firearms manufacturers have kind of caught on to that idea as a thing that's very necessary, not only for self-defense but also for law enforcement and military also. Because, well, if you need to use it, you need to use it, and sometimes you don't have time to look down the sight. Something else that may help, especially with the smaller frame Glocks, this is actually a little trick that Hickok 45 does. Sometimes to get better purchase on the grip here, you see how that's got that hump right there in the plastic? See how it's got that hump there? You can take a file and file that down just a tad to where you don't have that hump as much, and it's more of a kind of like a ramp. Okay, that will give you a better purchase for your middle finger, so that'll actually give you a better, more sturdy lockup on your pistol. So that's another little trick that you can do. Something else I would recommend is you can actually get different grips for them. You can actually get like a Talon grip. Like I said, Hickok 45 does. He likes the sandpaper one, which is basically more or less it's the same thing as grip tape that you would use on like a skateboard or something like that. So you could do that. You could actually customize that yourself. That's pretty much what I would recommend. That's where we're at. So anyway, I thank you for your time, and I hope I was able to help you. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your time. Defend your homes wisely.